I think you could argue that cryptos will eventually go to zero, right? Because think about this: after FTX, and you had a bunch of big money. I mean, Tom Brady, Giselle Bundchen, Kevin O'Leary. I mean, all of these big players were involved in FTX, and now everyone saw that blow up. And there's no sports stars, there's no celebrities, there's no big money that is willing to go near any crypto anymore until they. I mean, this is really the big earthquake if you're looking for one. And then what you're looking at also is how does the crypto market come out of this? And one of the interesting things when you look at how an exchange in crypto is virtually the same as a bank is in the economy, right? So, the banks obviously lend, they give you leverage, they give you all these kind of things to do. Well, that's what the exchanges do essentially. So there's a lot of similarities in what they are, and ultimately
more and more people are scared of investing in crypto and Bitcoin right now. That's due to the recent events we all heard about: Celsius and Voyager, Terra Luna, FTX, Solana dropping heavily, etc. And with all the fear in the market, is there still hope for Bitcoin, or will it go to zero eventually? In today's video, the president, CFO, and chief market strategist of InTheMoneyStocks.com and VerifiedInvestingCrypto.com, Gareth Soloway, will make another Bitcoin price prediction and talk about what's happening to crypto and Bitcoin. This interview will help clarify some questions people have, and it's an excellent video to share with the less educated about this space. So if you find the value, share it on your social media, and let's help the community together. First, with everything that happened to FTX, how safe is it today to still have money inside the exchanges? What does Gareth recommend?
Yeah, so I mean, there's no doubt there's an additional risk by having it on an exchange. I think for me, and again, by the way, this is, I have no inside scoop, but for all I know, the places I have my money could be gone tomorrow. But like something like a Coinbase, where it's a publicly traded stock, I would hope that the SEC is a little bit more involved there, so it's a little safer. I hear Kraken is audited twice a year, so I mean, there hopefully are exchanges that are better quality, but again, in this environment, nothing is 100%. We have to understand that. There's no FDIC insurance here in crypto like there is in stock accounts, where the government guarantees your money if it vanishes. And so people just have to be aware of that. And so cold storage is definitely one way to do it. Because I'm more of a swing trader, I don't do that, but I definitely limit the amount of money that's on the exchange.
Many people calling Bitcoin and crypto Ponzi schemes are enjoying the pain now. But are they right to think that since we are not even safe to keep our money inside exchanges?
Number one, Ponzi schemes are a little bit different in their functionality, but I think also you look at the US dollar, and who's to say that that's not a Ponzi scheme? All we do as a country is borrow, borrow, borrow to repay debts that we have, and it's kind of just repaying, and we just borrow more to do that. So in many senses, you could say the US dollar and the US economy is built that same way. But the key is that Bitcoin is now being adopted by more and more people. There's big money involved. I think FTX is a major issue because it really creates mistrust in the crypto industry. But again, from mistrust, regulation will come, which will create transparency. And once you have transparency, that's where real trust is built, right? I mean, before this, we didn't have transparency and we were just hoping that everything was fine. But we know now that's not the case. And so you have that transparency that comes from regulation. And that's what's going to drive big money to invest, in my opinion, in Bitcoin and in Ethereum. What people are discovering, and what's interesting is, I've been saying for well over a year that we needed regulation in the space. And again, the key thing is you just need common sense regulation. Now, whether our politicians can actually come up with common sense, I would doubt that. But the hope is, and you have to look at it like this, right? Is it better to have no regulation and then people doing what Sam Bankman-Fried did and mismanaging, client funds and over leveraging and basically people losing fortunes or all their money? Or is it better to have some regulation in the space, maybe a little too much just because our politicians generally do that, but is it better than nothing? And for me, I'm an investor. I want to make money, right? So for me, the deregulation, or I should say the decentralization, isn't as keen of a point as whether or not Bitcoin goes up. Listen, if Bitcoin goes to zero, it doesn't really matter if it's decentralized or not, right? You have to have the foundations of trust, and you have to have rules and regulations to do that. So my hope is that the government doesn't overregulate. I think that for the most part, gold, or I should say Bitcoin, is the digital gold, and that will create its own kind of intrigue once we get transparency in the system.
Can Bitcoin go to zero if the regulation doesn't come soon? Why would politicians and governments protect decentralized crypto if they can create their digital currencies and CBDCs?
But I think when you look at Bitcoin, like weirdly enough, if you don't get regulation, I think you could argue that cryptos will eventually go to zero, right? Because think about this, after FTX, and you had a bunch of big money. I mean, Tom Brady, Gisele Bündchen, Kevin O'Leary. I mean, all of these big players were involved in FTX, and now everyone saw that blow up, and there's no sports stars, there's no celebrities, there's no big money that is willing to go near any crypto anymore until they have some sort of transparency, because it's not worth their fortunes, it's not worth their reputations now, right? You have some major tarnishing on reputations. I know there's lawsuits being filed and all that stuff. So the question is are there enough small investors to really create that push in Bitcoin to have it go to 100,000, to have it go to $1 million? And again, I don't know that. And I think that's my biggest concern, is that without that transparency, without that regulation, you're not going to lure the big money in that can really drive it to the upside. There's so many companies in the crypto market that are under distress now, whether they had exposure to FTX or Solana, which has collapsed down from $30 in the last couple of weeks to 12 or 13 or 14. There's a lot of hurt going on, and what's going to happen is they're going to be forced to liquidate positions to kind of cover debts, and we even see that with FTX. There's probably a lot of liquidations there alone when they're trying to pay back investors. So there's going to be this continual kind of selling pressure in crypto in the near term. You're going to get bounces, but for the most part, I think it trickles down. I think also the mere fact that you don't have the regulation now totally takes the big buyer away. Like, for me, I do have investments in Bitcoin, but they're relatively small to my overall portfolio. And the main reason is I don't want to have, I'm a trader, so I need to have it on an exchange, but I don't want to have a lot of my money on any exchange. So it's just like, okay, you know what? I will sit back, I will wait patiently and wait until the right opportunity where we get transparency comes in. So number one, I think that there's a lot of politicians that secretly have crypto holdings. I know some have said they do, but I think it's more than we realize. Mainly because they're on the cutting edge of knowing what's going on. They see the revolution out there. They see what the blockchain is going to be. They understand some of these big money players getting in. And I also think that, you look at places like Texas in the US. Texas is a massive place where there's mining going on. There's huge amounts of jobs based on the blockchain. So Texas being a huge state, you have a lot of politicians just there alone that are pushing for good quality regulation, and they want the blockchain, they want crypto to survive. So you can go to other states as well, and it's really starting to spread. The crypto market, in terms of the economy, is exponentially growing year on year. It's still relatively small, but it is growing bigger and bigger. Like, look at things like Microsoft, other companies out there. They've already launched side businesses or incorporated crypto and blockchain into things that they're doing, which is now becoming more and more dependent on that blockchain.
With that out of the way, what can we expect now? Can we still recover from all of this? Gareth will also explain what's his next price target for Bitcoin. He's been saying it for a while now and even shared his strategies. So if you missed our previous videos, you might want to watch them next, as Gareth Soloway also shows his average dollar cost strategy there. But what's next?
There's no quiet in this market these days, whether it's the Fed or the dollar or FTX or, there's just anything. You turn any direction and there's something new bubbling up. So it keeps us on our toes. But like I always say, volatility creates opportunity. So again, whether we're in a bear market or a bull market, there's always opportunity. You just have to look for it. Yeah, so there's a lot of similarities with it. You talk about the earth-shattering kind of event that Lehman Brothers was in terms of shaking the industry to its core, and I think you've seen that in crypto. This is really the big earthquake if you're looking for one. And then what you're looking at also is is how does the crypto market come out of this? And one of the interesting things when you look at how an exchange in crypto is virtually the same as a bank is in the economy, right? So, the banks obviously lend, they give you leverage, they give you all these kind of things to do. Well, that's what the exchanges do essentially. They leverage themselves up way too much. FTX did the same thing. So there's a lot of those similarities. And then you look at things like the charts and you start to say, okay, did the market bottom when Lehman Brothers collapsed? And the answer is no. It took about 5 to 6 months to bottom. So you start saying, okay, if this is a Lehman Brothers moment, when does this give us? Does this finally give us that timeline when crypto could bottom? And I think it does. And I also think that if you look back to the 2008, 2009 period, you saw these banks misbehaving like a lot of these exchanges are, Celsius, Voyager, and now FTX. And you saw regulation come out of it. What was it? It was Dodd-Frank, right? So you have that functionality, which is now likely going to come out in the crypto markets. And so again, what I did was I looked at the charts and I said, okay, well, when Lehman Brothers occurred, how long did it take for the markets, the S&P to bottom? That was 5 to 6 months. And then I also looked and I said, okay, well, what type of fall did we see following? In the following 5 to 6 months, how much did the S&P fall? The answer is about 40 to 45%. So Wow. If you take 40 to 45% away from the current levels on Bitcoin, it puts you right around $9,000 as a potential low.
$9,000 is the potential low, but don't get discouraged, as this means there will be new opportunities to ride the bull run when it comes. Again, check our previous videos from Gareth to learn more about how you should do it. Thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like and subscribe if you want more videos like this, and share them on your social media to help people understand what's happening and where we're going from here. Thanks.